Regional championship trophies were handed out last Friday night as 28 schools punched their ticket to the Final Four in their division and now are one step away from a trip to the state championships in Canton. Welcome to this week's edition of the OHSAA Football Playoff Preview Show. I'm Marty Bannister. Thank you for being with us for the next 30 minutes as we set the scene across Ohio for this week's state semifinal games. During the first 4 weeks of the playoffs, the brackets determined who played who each round. But this week in the state semifinals, the OHSAA determines the matchups. In this week's show, we'll find out how those matchups are determined. And we'll look back at a playoff game last weekend that was played in an NFL stadium before previewing the state semifinals with reports from around the state. Let's step aside for these messages from the Ohio High School Athletic Association. And when we return, we will sit down with football administrator Bo Rugg from the OHSAA. This is the OHSAA Football Playoff Preview Show.
What is the purpose of high school sports?
Ask yourself that question when you take your seat in the bleachers.
The competition can be intense.
But there's more to high school sports than what you see from the stands.
High school sports teach leadership, discipline, and sportsmanship.
And how to put the team before myself.
How to handle adversity.
How to get my work done during school.
Before I put on my uniform after school.
When the game begins, everyone wants to win.
But let's not forget, high school sports are about so much more than wins and losses.
Now, more than ever, we need to protect the purpose of high school sports.
The Ohio High School Athletic Association is committed to protecting the purpose of high school sports.
Because high school sports aren't just extracurricular.
They're extra important.
Let's educate through sports.
Welcome back to the OHSAA Football Playoff Preview Show. I'm Marty Bannister. Winning a regional championship is a 4-week process, and teams, coaches, and fans follow the bracket in each region to see which teams they could face along the way. But it's a different story when we get to the state semifinals, when the OHSAA determines the next step for the regional champs. This week we sit down with the football administrator from the OHSAA, Bo Rugg, to find out how they make those decisions for the Final Four. Well, let's talk a little high school football. We're into the state semifinals, Bo. As exciting as it is to start the playoffs, it's really exciting now because we're a couple of steps away from going to Canton. But I wanted to get your thoughts, first of all, on something that happened last Friday night, the end of the nation's longest high school football winning streak. St. Henry beating Marion Local last Friday night. 76 consecutive wins for St. Henry, for Marion Local, rather. 5 straight state championships, a remarkable achievement.
It's incredible, but it does show what we have in a lot of our communities they build a great culture, they have a great coach, they have a great coaching staff, they have people that have been there a long time, and it really morphs into something that's really quite wonderful. But 76 in a row is a little bit more than quite wonderful. But it's tremendous, and there's such good people. I like when good things happen for good people, and they are very good people there. And it's awesome.
And especially in these days with high school football in Ohio being so competitive, especially in that league. I mean, that was a rematch of a conference regular season game to see St. Henry again. To do that is even more remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And, we talked about I've talked to enough coaches, and I talked to their coaches a lot during the season, and they'll say, well, we're young this year, we'll see how we develop, and they've said that for a couple years, and they developed really, really well. And I think they did this year. I mean, they won some games this year they probably shouldn't have won. Mm-hmm. And but it's based on that belief, culture, we're going to improve, we're going to do what it takes. And it ended up, someone had to knock them off. And from what I saw during that game, St. Henry really did what you have to do to knock off a champion. You have to play physical and better than the other team the whole game.
And I'm sure you would say congratulations not only to Marion Local, but also to St. Henry. Remarkable achievement as well, too. All right, Bo, let's move on and talk about the state semifinals. Let's get into the bracketing process now, because I think there are always a lot of questions about that. It's a process where it's not necessarily the 1 seed against the 4 seed or bracket 1 plays bracket 2. How does it work?
Yeah, since we have regions and 4 regions in each division, we could have 4 1 seeds. So we don't seed statewide, we seed within the region. And once we do that, we have regional finalists and regional winners. Then we re-bracket as we go into the state semis. Our first order of business on re-bracketing is geography. We'll look at that if it makes sense for these. For example, in Division II, we've always had, we have 3 regions in Division II that we could have 3 Northeast teams. So we know that the 2 winners are going to play, and then the other one has to go somewhere else. Well, we only had 2 this year because Massillon has been the 3rd at times, and Big Walnut won, so it's different. But that's what makes the re-bracketing. Those 2 are going to play up there, and then the other's going to go and play someone else down from the southwest. So that's what we look at. The other thing we look at is how do we get between the 2 schools? In other words, sometimes we look at our I-71, I-75, I-77. Sometimes those corridors are nice to use, but and we use 2 across the north, and so we do some of that, and we'll do some east-west type stuff, meeting in Columbus, if that makes sense. So we really have to kind of look at who do we think's coming out. We do it a week ahead of time. Like last week we talked about this, and so what are all our scenarios that we could have? And most of the time we can come up with, this is the way we're going to go. Every once in a while we're going to go this way if so-and-so wins, but we're not if so-and-so because, my gosh, look where they are. Right. So it's those things, those factors enter into it. Sites can enter into it on making sure we have a site between them. But for the most part, it's a geography thing and how they travel and where they are. And unfortunately, and we do this in every sport, you know what it's like in districts and things like that. It's not about who the 2 best teams are and trying to separate them. And that's good because that's an opinion. 2 best teams, we're going to know if they play each other and beat each other. So, yeah, that's the process. And I have a group of people that we work with, and they're from all over the state, and it really helps to bounce those ideas off.
And I think the geography thing is important to remember because there have been years where you have had a number 1 team, a number 2 team in the polls or in the computer rankings that are within a very close distance to one another, and it just makes sense to have them play each other.
It does. And a lot of times in a lot of sports, semifinals are your best games, and that's just the way it is sometimes. But we think we've got some really good semifinals this year with in divisions that all 4 teams are good. It's a toss-up. What 2 are we going to get? We don't even know. That's fun. That's Absolutely. A lot of fun.
Last week, Cincinnati St. Xavier, Cincinnati Elder, the game was moved to Paycor Stadium. And I guess the best way to sum it up is the opportunity was there. I know the Bengals were helpful and all that. You worked in accordance with everybody to get that done. It came together very quickly, didn't it?
It did come together very quickly. The Bengals reached out to me Monday late afternoon. And really by late Tuesday, we were set. And that's incredible.
It's quick. Yeah.
And I give a lot of credit to certainly the Bengals and the county commissioners down there and everybody for really stepping up and wanting it and really getting us as a partner to how do we get it done.
I know it's an exciting time of year with the state semifinals. We're a week away from the state championships as well, too. I can see it in your eyes right now. You're ready to go for this, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. This is a great time. My favorite time of the year. I love the whole playoff season, but we get into the fact of what I say the fruit of what we do, our state championships. And those championships are it's a festival. It's fun. I really look forward to it.
Always a pleasure to see you. Happy holidays.
You too.
Bo Rugg. And again, our thanks to Bo Rugg for visiting with us and talking high school football. Now let's allow our local stations to share a few messages from their local sponsors. When we come back, we'll hear from broadcasters around Ohio. This is the OHSAA Football Playoff Preview.
At the Ohio High School Athletic Association, our student athletes are going pro at being
coachable,
a good student,
responsible,
dependable,
respectful.
I'm going pro at being
a good student,
a good teammate,
responsible.
I'm going pro at being
coachable,
a good student,
dependable,
a good teammate,
representing my school.
I'm going pro at being
a good student,
a good student,
responsible.
Let's go pro at respecting the game.
Respect 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 the game.
Welcome back to the OHSAA Football Playoff Preview Show. Before we break down the state semifinal matchups, let's take a look back at a regional championship last Friday night that was played in an NFL stadium. The huge Division I Region 4 championship between Cincinnati Elder and Cincinnati St. Xavier was moved to Paycor Stadium, home of the Cincinnati Bengals, thanks to the efforts of Hamilton County and the Bengals. The two teams had an amazing experience playing in an NFL stadium, and a crowd of more than 22,300 saw St. Xavier erase a 21-point deficit to come back and beat Elder 42-34. What a night it was for those teams and fans. And now let's go inside the state semifinals with reports from broadcasters around Ohio. Up first, we travel down along the Ohio River to Portsmouth's WNXT and hear from Mark Williams.
The Wheelersburg Pirates are heading back to the state semifinals for the first time since 2018 after blitzing Nelsonville York 41-0 to win the 9th regional championship in school history. Senior quarterback Braylon Rucker and fellow senior Elijah Brown are the keys to the offensive machine, operating behind a very solid offensive line. The hallmark of this year's Pirates team, however, is the defense. Wheelersburg has allowed just 7.2 points per game through 13 games this season, and they have one of the top kickers in the state in senior Cooper Heimbach, who just recently committed to Ohio University. The Pirates face Youngstown Cardinal Mooney Friday night from Westerville Central High School. I'm Mark Williams, WNXT Radio, reporting for the OHSAA Football Playoff Preview Show.
Now to the western part of the state, from Lima's WIMA, the voice of the Bowling Green Falcons, Todd Walker visits with us and talks about the end of a state record winning streak.
For Lima and West Central Ohio, we're down to 3 teams, and 2 of them will play each other for a state championship game berth in Division 7 this Friday night. The game at Troy will feature Columbus Grove and St. Henry. Of course, you know by now that St. Henry ended Marion Local's 76-game winning streak last Friday night, beating the Flyers in Wapakoneta 24-7. The Redskins ran for 238 yards, 139 from QB Charlie Whirling, who scored 4 touchdowns. St. Henry has not been to the state championship game since winning their last title in 2006, and also that as their last regional championship. By the way, they hadn't beaten Marion Local since 2009. Now they take on Columbus Grove, who beat Lipstick 31-6 at Shawnee Friday night. For the Bulldog, it's their 5th regional championship in the last 6 years. However, the last 4 years they've won a regional championship. They've lost in the state semifinals to a MAC team, Coldwater in 20, Marion Local in 22 and 24, and Versailles in 2023. So the Bulldogs will try to break through and get to the state championship game. Meanwhile, in Division 6, Coldwater out of the MAC gets to the state semifinals by beating fellow MAC member Anna 14-12. 19th regional championship for the Cavaliers. They will play Hopewell Loudon this coming Friday night at Wapakoneta. Reporting for the OHSAA, this is Todd Walker from 1150 WIMA.
Now to the eastern part of the state, from Marietta's WMOA, here's Aaron Cassidy.
Thanks, Marty. We'll start in Division 4. Eastern Ohio, Indian Valley continues to dominate their way through the playoffs. They capture another regional championship behind Grady Kenzie. He continues to do what he does throughout the season, rack up a lot of yards and score a lot of touchdowns. He had 234 yards all-purpose on Friday night, 182 of those coming on the ground to go along with 3 touchdowns. If the Braves want to make it to another state championship, though, Cleveland-Glenville stands in their way Friday night at Minerva High School. And then in Southeast Ohio, Wheelersburg continues to dominate. 41-0 victory on Friday night against Nelsonville York. This is a Wheelersburg team that has allowed just 16 points in the playoffs. They're looking to make it back to the state finals, their first time since 2017. They played Cardinal Mooney on Friday night at Westerville Central High School in order to get there. Reporting for the eastern and southeastern part of the state for the OHSAA radio network from WMOA and WJAW in Marietta, I'm Aaron Cassidy.
To the Cleveland area and from WKYC with a report, here's David Kinder.
Hello, I'm David Kinder with WKYC-TV in Cleveland, and Northeast Ohio will be well represented this Friday in the high school football Final Four. Let's start in Division 1. The Region 1 champions are the St. Edward Eagles. They're 11-2 and will take on 13-0 Olentangy Orange at Arlen Field in Mansfield. Tom Lombardo's Eagles took care of previously undefeated Minner last week, 27-7. In Division 2, it's an all-Northeast Ohio matchup as 12-1 Avon plays 11-1 Walsh Jesuit. Mike Elder's Eagles trying to defend their D2 state championship. Meanwhile, Walsh Jesuit hoping for their first state championship appearance since 1999. That game will be played at Akron's Infocision Stadium. In Division 3, it's been a magical season for Cuyahoga Valley Christian Academy. The Royals are 12-0. They've outscored their opponents in the playoffs 114-14, and they'll take on 10-4 Toledo Central Catholic in Fostoria. Down to Division 4, where Glenville may have played the most difficult regular season in the entire state of Ohio. Ted Ginn Senior's Tarblooders are 10-3, and they'll take on undefeated Indian Valley. Indian Valley led by Grady Kenzie, who last week set the state record for career touchdowns scored. That game will be played in Minerva. And in Division 6, once again, Kirtland is undefeated. Tiger Laverty's Hornets are hoping to play in their 9th consecutive state championship game. They'll take on 13-1 Colonel Crawford at Byersfield in Parma. Good luck to all the teams from Northeast Ohio. And reporting for WKYC-TV in Cleveland, I'm David Kinder.
Now to Youngstown, and from WBBW and the Western Reserve Report, here's Jim Craven.
The Final Four is set in each division in the state of Ohio, and the Mahoning Valley will send 2 representatives to the semifinals. In Division 5, the Mooney Cardinals, now 10-2, were tasked last Friday with taking on quarterback A.J. Pearson and the high-powered Girard Indians at South Range Raider Stadium in Canfield. The Cardinals would waste no time as they would jump out to a 34-14 lead at the half. Mooney would capitalize on a fumble on Girard's first offensive snap with a Rocco Zabel 1-yard touchdown run, and then Mike Schiraldi would be on the receiving end of a 30-yard touchdown pass from quarterback Vince Gentile. Brady Desmond would add 2 of his 3 touchdowns on the ground in the first half, and Jacob Gugliotta would add 2 35-yard field goals to round out the first half. Blue Jackson added 6 points in the third quarter on a 30-yard touchdown pass from Gentile. Brady Desmond would add his 3rd score of the night in the 4th quarter to secure a 48-14 win over the previously undefeated Girard Indians. Mooney will have a date next Friday at Westerville Central High School with a 13-0 Wheelersburg. Division 7 playoff action from Nordonia High School in Macedonia would feature Trumbull County's undefeated McDonald Blue Devils and perennial playoff program, the Mogador Wildcats. It was a back-and-forth affair in the first half, and after McDonald touchdowns by Drew Zajac, Jordan Perry, and Josh Krumpak, Blue Devils would go to the halftime break with a 21-14 lead. Mogador would start the second half on offense but put the ball on the turf for Amari Carriall, who would get his 2nd fumble recovery of the game. Casey Miller and Josh Krumpak would add scores in the second half, and the McDonald Blue Devils would remain perfect with a 42-21 win over Mogador. Next stop for the Blue Devils will be New Philadelphia Quaker Stadium, where they will take on 1-loss Jeromesville Hillsdale for a chance to get to championship weekend at Tom Benson Stadium in Canton. Catch all of the action from New Philadelphia with Mark Means and Dave Clark on the iMedia One Network's Western Reserve Radio 2 and in the Youngstown area on Sports Radio 1240 WBBW. For Western Reserve Radio, a part of the iMedia One Network, and Sports Radio 1240 WBBW in Youngstown, I'm Jim Craven.
Now let's check in on the Dayton and Springfield area from the OHSAA Radio Network. Here's Chris Solwecki.
We begin in Division 1, Region 2, where the Middletown Middies, the number 1 seed in the region, is state semifinal bound after a 21-14 victory over Huber Heights Wayne. It was the first postseason game in which the Middies were even scored upon. There are several famous alums from Middletown High School, Chris Carter, renowned Ohio State wide receiver and NFL Hall of Famer, being among them. But this is the very first Middie squad to make it to a state semifinals in school history. Jordan Van was instrumental in getting that done, scoring the go-ahead touchdown with 34 seconds remaining in the game, and then as Huber Heights Wayne tried to answer, Van intercepted a pass to seal the Middies' victory. Middletown will face St. Xavier's Bombers out of Cincinnati at Dayton's Welcome Stadium on Friday night. In Division 3, the Red Devils of Tippecanoe Tip City improved their record to a perfect 13-0 and raised the Region 12 trophy high on Friday night after ending London's 2025 campaign 33-16. The Red Devils came up with 26 unanswered points in the fourth quarter, including 2 defensive scores, both by senior Max Deckard, a scoop and score, as well as a pick 6. This is the second regional championship for Tippecanoe, who will now face last year's state champions Bishop Watterson out of Columbus in Mason, Ohio at Tri-Health Beacon Stadium. And in Division 4, Indian Valley blanked New Lexington 34-0 to capture the Region 15 championship. Indian Valley is known for its outstanding offense, led by Grady Kinsey and Riker Williams, and they didn't disappoint on Friday night. Kinsey ran for 187 yards and caught 2 touchdown passes, setting the all-time state record for career touchdowns. But the D shone brightly as well. Coming into the contest, New Lex had outscored their previous 2 opponents 86-14 and had scored at least 39 points in 6 of their previous 7 games. And we know they got shut out. Indian Valley will square off against 10-3 Cleveland Glenville at Minerva High School. This will be Indian Valley's second straight trip to the Final Four, winning the state championship 37-36 over Sandusky Perkins a year ago. Get out and watch a football game this weekend. It's going to be epic for the Ohio High School Athletic Association Playoff Football Preview Show. I'm Chris Solwecki.
Checking in on Central Ohio now to Ryan Baker from Columbus's 97.1 The Fan.
Thank you, Marty. And then there were 3. That's how many Columbus area teams won regional titles and will be playing in the state semifinals this Friday. The 3 teams reside in the top 3 divisions, too. Let's start in Division 1, where Olentangy Orange won their first regional title in school history by beating Pickerington Central 39-7. Led by quarterback Levi Davis and running back Lucas Fickle, the Pioneers scored 25 second-half points after leading 14-7 at half. Davis accounted for 4 touchdowns. Fickle had 175 yards and 2 scores on the ground. Orange takes on Lakewood St. Ed's at Mansfield's Arlen Field this week. Despite being outgained 416 to 201, Big Walnut beat Massillon for the second straight season to win the Region 7 title. The final score was 27-21. The Golden Eagles made some huge special teams plays, had some timely stops on defense to secure the victory. 2 of those were 4th down stops, and they had a strip sack on the final play. It'll be another rematch for Big Walnut when they take on Anderson at historic Crew Stadium this week. The Raptors won last year's semifinal matchup 28-24. For the 3rd straight season, Watterson is the Division III Region 11 champ. They shut out Steubenville 43-0. The Eagles are doing it with a balanced offense and a stout defense that has only given up 80 points all season long. The defending D3 state champs have outscored their 3 playoff opponents 147-6. They face undefeated Tippecanoe Friday night down in Mason with a 3rd straight trip to Canton on the line. For high school football overtime on 97.1 The Fan in Columbus, I'm Ryan Baker.
And checking things out in the north central part of the state, again from the OHSAA Radio Network, here's David Wilson.
All right, Marty, let's start in Division 6 where the 13-1 North Robinson Colonel Crawford Eagles have risen from a number 5 seed in Region 23 to a spot in the Final Four for the first time in school history. The Eagles, ranked 2nd in Ohio and coached by Jake Bruner, have enjoyed 4 lopsided wins in the playoffs, including a 35-7 victory over West Jefferson in the regional final. In that game, senior tailback Connor McMichael ran for 214 yards and 4 touchdowns. Waiting in the wings in the state semifinal are the vaunted and top-ranked Kirtland Hornets of Tiger Laverty. The Eagles and Hornets will meet at Byers Field in Parma on Friday night at 7. Now shifting over to Division 7. The Jeromesville Hillsdale Falcons are peaking at the right time, arriving in the state Final Four for the second year in a row. Following a 25-20 victory over Danville in the regional final, in which senior tailback Owen Sloan ran for 205 yards and 3 touchdowns, the Falcons are 13-1. The current Hillsdale seniors have won 13 playoff games in their careers. Coach Trevor Klein and his troops now have their sights set on a state semifinal meeting against unbeaten McDonald at New Philadelphia on Friday night. With the stunning upset of Marion Local last week, all 4 D7 finalists feel they have a path to the state title, with the Flyers watching from home. This is David Wilson reporting for the Ohio High School Football Playoff Preview Show.
And thanks to all of our broadcasters for checking in this week. That'll do it for a look at this week's state semifinal playoff games. We'll step aside for these messages from the OHSAA. When we come back, we'll wrap up this edition of the OHSAA Football Playoff Preview Show.
Sportsmanship. Sportsmanship.
Sportsmanship is all of our responsibility.
Sportsmanship is more than a pregame announcement.
Sportsmanship is more than just shaking hands at the end of a game.
It takes all of us. We need everyone in the stands to show respect. Respect the athletes.
Respect the coaches.
And please respect the officials.
It takes all of us.
We want this to be an event that we are all proud of.
Respect the game. Respect the game.
Respect the game.
Respect the game.
Before we wrap up this week's show, a reminder that statewide playoff brackets are available on the OHSAA website at ohsaa.org, along with the football playoff histories of every school in Ohio. Looking ahead to the state championships, all session tickets are on sale at ohsaa.org/tickets. That includes a special ticket package with indoor access in the Stadium Club, as well as a youth football team ticket package. Spectrum News 1 is the official television partner of the OHSAA and will cover all 14 state semifinal games, with 4 games on TV and all games streaming at ohsaa.tv. In Northeast and Central Ohio, Spectrum will televise Lakewood St. Edward and Olentangy Orange. In Southwest Ohio, you will see Cincinnati St. Xavier face the Middies of Middletown. And in bonus coverage on Channel 314, Spectrum brings you Big Walnut versus Cincinnati Anderson. In addition to those 3 TV games, Spectrum will have the remaining state semifinal games streamed online at ohsaa.tv. In our next playoff preview show, we'll go inside the state championship matchups as we get ready for another historic weekend at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Kansas. Thanks for being with us for this week's edition of the OHSAA Football Playoff Preview Show. Our show produced by Tim Street and Adam Dell. On behalf of the Ohio High School Athletic Association, I'm Marty Bannister. We'll see you next week when we break down the 7 OHSAA state championship football games.